This past weekend, hundreds of Pokemon Go trainers from all around the world descended on Anaheim, California with one singular goal: to fight to be crowned the 2025 Pokemon Go World Champion. Even qualifying for the World Championships is an incredible achievement, as you need to either win a regional or international level championship or accumulate enough championship points to qualify through consistent play throughout these events. This year's World Championships features 3 days of competition. At the end of day 1, 32 trainers will remain. At the end of day 2, only 2 trainers will be left. And on day 3, we crown a new world champion. Today, we're going to pick up the story at the beginning of day 3. Hundreds of trainers have entered, but only 2 still remain for the chance at world champion. The first trainer to have made it to the grand finals of the Pokemon Go World Championships is none other than Pokémon. Pokémon has arguably been the best trainer in the entire world this competitive season. Pokémon won the European International Championships this year. He then followed it up with a 3rd place finish at the North American International Championships, and now has made it to the grand finals here at Worlds. His opponent in these grand finals will be Beelzebub, a trainer from India who placed 4th at the 2024 World Championships and is now looking to claim the World Championship for himself for the very first time. Now that we have our 2 final competitors, let's take a look at their matchup. Pokémon is running a double water strategy with Lapras and Shadowclaw Golisopod, pairing it up with Galarian Corsola, Shadow Kanto Marowak, Acid Cradily, and Forretress. Beelzebub is opting for a double steel strategy with Shadow Steelix, Tinkaton, and paired up with a Shadow Annihilate, Galarian Moltres, Shadow Kanto Marowak, and Lapras. Upon team reveals, Beelzebub has a massive team comp advantage, as Galarian Moltres beats Pokémon's entire team in the 2-shield, meaning Pokémon is going to have to work very hard to defeat that Galarian Moltres, and for Beelzebub, that Galarian Moltres will be brought to every single battle. Leads are set for game number 1 is Shadow Steelix for Beelzebub into the Lapras for Pokémon. Since Pokémon is coming out of the winner side of the bracket, he only needs to win 1 best of 5 to be crowned world champion. Beelzebub would need to win 2 best of 5s. Pokémon is going to bank energy save switch into Galarian Corsola, and that is going to be met with the Galarian Moltres. Galarian Moltres is going to be shielding up the super effective power gem and looking to overfarm massively. Beelzebub will opt for the Brave Bird here. Fly may have been enough to KO, but in a Worlds Finals, Beelzebub is not taking any chances. So Beelzebub will go for a double shield and a full farm down, just looking to try and exit with as much energy as possible. The thing to keep in mind is Lapras has a charge attack loaded. Pokémon tries to snipe down the Moltres, but Beelzebub says no with a well-timed catch onto Lapras. Lapras now answered with the Shadow Marowak. Shadow Marowak normally has a losing matchup into Lapras, but with a shield advantage, Marowak will be able to protect itself from the Sparkling Aria and pick up the knockout with the super effective Rock Slide. So Rock Slide will be enough. Down goes the Lapras, but back in comes Galarian Moltres. Galarian Moltres fires off the Brave Bird. This is going to be game over for the Marowak. All that's left in the back is the Lapras, and it just does not have the energy in reserve. Moltres makes a second Brave Bird. Down goes the Lapras, and Beelzebub takes a 1-0 series lead. Even from game 1, you can definitely see the strategy employed by Pokémon. He's going to try and leverage Lapras energy management to try and get rid of this problematic Galarian Moltres. The players lock in for game number 2, and it's going to be Lapras into the Galarian Corsola. Immediate save switch for Beelzebub into the Galarian Moltres, and that is going to be answered with Cradily. Galarian Moltres can win the 2s here straight fly. We do see Pokémon putting up an early shield, as he does want to apply debuffs to the Moltres, but unfortunately, even with attack drops, Galarian Moltres is still able to win the 2 shield straight fly. And on top of that, the Galarian Moltres, while exiting debuffed, will exit with quite a lot of energy. Good no shield by Pokémon as he wants to try and generate some kind of advantage out of the mid game. Here's the switch into Lapras. Beelzebub is going to bank so much energy and then switch in his own. So now Beelzebub does have the move loaded on that Moltres, and unfortunately for Pokémon, the energy head start on the Lapras cannot do much into Beelzebub's Lapras, as both these Laprases have opted for Ice Beam over Skull Bash. These Lapras will be trading Sparkling Aria. The thing to watch for Patoman is the switch clock. Patoman would love to save energy from his Lapras and switch out as it's more useful later on. There's the switch timer coming up. In comes Corsola. Beelzeboy will get to connect with a Sparkling Aria to burn his switch timer, and now back in comes the Moltres. Moltres tries to go for the CMP tie, but Corsola will not fall for it. Instead, just going to go for the free Astonish. Corsola now going to undertap the Power Gem, and this is going to be lights out for the Moltres as it gets KO'd. Back in comes the Lapras. Lapras going for the Ice Beam. It does slightly more damage than a Sparkling Aria. Ice Beam is going to land. Corsola survives. Lapras does get the farm down. In comes the Lapras for Patoman. He gets the farm down, and Patoman has done it. An energy management masterclass from Patoman, absolute perfection, as Steelix will fall to the back-to-back Sparkling Arias, and Patoman gets the equalizer as the series moves to 1 game apiece. With the series tied going into game number 3, this game looms large. If Pato wins, he's only 1 win away from World Champion, and if Beelzeboy wins, only 1 win away from a bracket reset. The battlers lock in for game number 3, and it's a positive lead for Beelzeboy as he leads Lapras into Marowak. There is a safe switch into Lapras, answered with the Shadow Steelix, but down to energy, Shadow Steelix will actually lose his heroes here, because Lapras should be able to get to the double Sparkling Aria, and that's just going to be enough to knock out this Steelix. So now Beelzeboy has a decision to make. Does Beelzeboy decide to invest in the Steelix for switch advantage? Beelzeboy says no, because who needs switch advantage when Moltres beats your opponent's entire team? So in comes the Moltres. Moltres will get the full Sucker Punch farm down. In comes the Marowak. Marowak builds up to the rock slide and baits with the Bone Club. Beelzeboy thinks about it, calls the bait, and we see the reaction from Patoman. That is absolutely devastating. On the biggest stage, Beelzeboy with a perfect read when it matters the most. Beelzeboy farms up to 100 energy, going for the fly. This will pressure a shield off of Patoman. Patoman has the Golisopod in the back, but it's a Shadow Claw Golisopod, which means it has virtually no play into this Moltres. In comes the Golisopod, but it's just too far behind. The fly is reached by the Moltres. This Galarian Moltres, an absolute terror in this series. Patoman does not have the answers in game number 3, and Beelzeboy is now only 1 win away from a bracket reset. The battlers lock in for game number 4, and we have perfect mirror leads, Lapras versus Lapras. Both trainers have a Steel type in the bag to protect the Lapras. It's Fortress for Patoman, and the Shadow Steelix for Beelzeboy. The third is going to be Galarian Corsola for Patoman, and as always, Beelzeboy is bringing that overpowered Galarian Moltres. These battlers will trade Sparkling Arias in the Lapras mirror. An interesting thing to note is Patoman is running a higher attack Lapras, so he's consistently able to win charge attack priority, but that also could come potentially at the cost of having slightly lower bulk. Sparkling Aria is going to connect. We see Pato not playing to the CMP tie there, potentially expecting a switch out. Aria is going to land. Patoman gets Psywave down and does not get his move. In comes Corsola, quick switch into the Galarian Moltres, answered with the Fortress. Fortress immediately going to be met with a fly. Beelzeboy did not build up to the Brave Bird because Beelzeboy did not want that move to be shielded. Instead, Beelzeboy would much rather potentially commit all the way to a farm down and be able to close out this game with the Galarian Moltres. Moltres will fire off a last-second fly into this Fortress. Fortress with a no shield. It's all up to Corsola. Beelzeboy not able to switch out for a few Sucker Punches, but now the clock is up and in comes Steelix. This is important because Beelzeboy has now reset the attack drop on that Moltres, and Beelzeboy is just going to go straight Psychic Fangs. Patoman knows it, but whether he shields the Psychic Fangs or not, his fate is sealed. There's just too much fast move pressure. The Corsola's defense has been debuffed. Thunder Fangs are adding up. There's another Psychic Fangs. Pato shields, but the writing is on the wall in this one. Beelzeboy will be hit and knocked out with the Nightshade, but this should be 2 more Sucker Punches and a bracket reset for Beelzeboy as down goes Galarian Corsola. This now means we go to one final best of 5 series to determine who will be world champion. Patoman not out of it yet, but now both trainers have taken a loss, so this final series will determine the world champion. The battlers look through their team sheets, making last-minute adjustments before this final series. Game number 1 is set, and it's a great lead for Patoman, leading Credilli into Shadow Steelix. This lead is incredibly good for Pato Man because Beelzebub cannot save switch the Galarian Moltres here, because Galarian Moltres would be behind by a turn and therefore lose the matchup to the Credilli. So Credilli is more than happy to stay in here and play this out. We do see the Fortress Corsola in the back. And for Beelzebub is just going to apply debuff after debuff with Psychic Fangs. Pato farms to 100 energy. We see a Grass Knot catch. Beelzebub saves the Steelix and catches the Grass Knot onto that Galarian Moltres. Moltres now immediately under threat from a Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb does get shielded and in comes Fortress. This is obviously a debuffed Moltres. Moltres farms up to the Brave Bird but will go for the Fly. Fly is going to be no shielded, but Fly was still always the right play there. Because if he threw the Brave Bird, Fortress could have farmed down. But by going for the Fly, he's able to force a shield, and now in comes Steelix. Steelix does a great job at neutralizing energy from Fortress, as Sand Tomb is not a powerful attack whatsoever. So Fortress's energy doesn't really do a whole lot here. In comes Galarian Corsola. Beelzebub going for the Psychic Fangs bait. Pato Man calls the bait. What a play. Beelzebub makes the last second crunch. Pato no shields. Maybe he didn't realize it was the crunch. The crunch connects, and Galarian Corsola, just like that, all that health down the drain. In comes Lapras, quick switch into the Moltres to snipe down the energy. Fortress snipes down the Moltres, but now Lapras will be able to close out this game. There's just no ability for any of Pato Man's Pokemon to get a move. In comes that Credilli. Credilli is gonna get fully farmed down, and Beelzebub takes game number 1. Both trainers switch up the leads for game number 2, Lapras into Corsola. Here, Beelzebub makes a very subtle but very nice play. He throws 2 Psywaves and then switches into the Moltres. Why this matters is this forces the Corsola to overtap and Astonish and gives Beelzebub an even more significant energy head start with the Moltres. Pato will always call the Fly, but Beelzebub never has to throw anything other than Fly here because Moltres wins the 2s going straight Fly. Moltres is going to be playing to the CMP tie, as Credilli will fire back with the Rock Tomb and force the final shield. Moltres will get a farm down here. Pato's gonna switch out into the Corsola, but Corsola outpaces barely with the energy in reserves. Power Gem is reached. Down goes the Moltres, and that is devastating for Beelzebub. Even with the energy head start, not able to get to the move, and now things are suddenly looking dire. Pato was finally able to snipe down the Moltres, and with Moltres off the field, suddenly this matchup looks a lot less scary. Corsola is going to be shielding up the crunch on the CMP tie and picking up the knockout with the Nightshade, and it looks like Pato Man will be able to get the equalizer here as it's Lapras versus Lapras in this endgame. While Beelzebub does have the energy advantage in this mirror, Beelzebub still has to take 3 knockouts, whereas Pato only has to take 1. So the Acid from the Credilli and the Astonish from the Corsola will all also add up. So unfortunately for Beelzebub, he's not going to be able to win this matchup. Lapras is going to be firing off another Aria. Switch Clock not yet available for Pato Man, but realistically he will not need it. Sparkling Aria will connect, getting Pato Man very low. Pato Man is going to get the Sparkling Aria. Beelzebub didn't throw the move, recognizing the fact that there was just no way out in this game, and now the series is tied up 1-1. Pato played well to snipe down that Moltres, but Beelzebub must know if he didn't commit to the Fly and instead switched out to save the Moltres, that game could have had a different outcome. Leads are set for game number 3, and it's disaster for Pato Man as he leads Credilli into Shadow Annihilate. Shadow Annihilate had stayed on the bench throughout this series so far, but Beelzebub brings it at the perfect time, and now Pato Man is on the defensive. Pato Man's choice of Shadow Claw Golisopod was incredibly helpful through days 1 and 2, but unfortunately, it means Golisopod is a big liability into Galarian Moltres. Moltres is going to be shielding up the Aqua Jet, under tapping the Fly. Pato Man will let it go as he knows there's no ability for him to win switch here. In comes Credilli. Credilli gonna look for the Acid farm down, but Galarian Moltres will not be denied. It's gonna make the Brave Bird. Brave Bird does get shielded up by the Credilli. In comes Annihilate. Annihilate will take a lot of damage from the Grass Knot. This is a move that is survivable. Grass Knot lands. In comes Galarian Corsola. And now, Lapras is revealed as the final Pokemon. No baits here from Pato Man, going straight for the Power Gem that does get shielded up by the Lapras. Lapras gonna opt for a double Ice Beam strategy strategy to try and pick up the knockout. Ice Beam does hit harder than a Sparkling Aria. This is going to be very close. Can Beelzebub get there? No, he cannot. And the Power Gem is now guaranteed to land. The Power Gem will get Lapras deep into the red health. Lapras farming up. Pato tries to catch, but he was mid-astonish, which means he is not able to do so. Aria picks up the KO. In comes the Credilli, and the Lapras hangs on, gets to the Ice Beam. Down goes Credilli. Beelzebub is one win away from being crowned world champion. For Pato Man, this is where he needs to dig deep. He has had an incredible season, winning European internationals, third at North American internationals, but now he's one win away from losing this grand finals. He needs an equalizer, and he needs it now. Game number 4 leads our set, and it's Galarian Corsola for Pato Man into the Shadow Steelix for Beelzebub. Beelzebub gonna stay in this matchup, fire off the super effective Crunch. Pato Man going to choose the no shield. This is super effective damage, but Corsola is able to win the even shielding scenarios here because Corsola just has significantly better stats. Corsola will get to another Nightshade. Beelzebub now has a choice to make. Beelzebub opting to let it go. Will go for farm on the Moltres most likely. Pato Man already spamming the switch button. In comes Moltres. There's going to be the safe switch into Lapras. Beelzebub is going to bank so much energy on the Moltres and then bring in his own Lapras. This will effectively neutralize the energy from that Lapras, but since Pato Man has such a significant energy head start and also a desync of the switch timers, we'll see what Pato can do to fight back here. But Beelzebub, with that energy on the Moltres, should be in the driver's seat as long as no moves get caught here. This Sparkling Aria will connect, but Pato Man knows it will not be enough to knock out. There's a catch! Pato Man able to catch back onto the Galarian Corsola. Undercharge on the Sparkling Aria. There's the switch to Moltres. Moltres able to get the farm down, and now in comes Credilli. Beelzebub has been throwing flies all weekend, and Pato calls it once again. So Pato, still with the shields up, will get to fire off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb will be grabbing the shield from Beelzebub. Beelzebub building up to the back-to-back flies, and gets there. Pato Man will have to burn shields. Pato Man was able to save energy on his Lapras. This is going to be a very close game. Beelzebub was in the driver's seat until that devastating catch by Pato Man. And now thanks to that catch, Pato Man might be back in it. Beelzebub is going to let the Moltres go. In comes the Lapras, but there's just so much energy on Pato Man's Lapras. There's just no way out. Sparkling Aria gets shielded, but there's more where that came from. Beelzebub so close to the Aria, but not quite there. He gets his Aria, but it's just too little, too late, as his Lapras is now in farm down range. In comes Credilli. Pato gets the acid down, and to decide the world champion, we're going to a decisive game number 5. This moment right here are where champions are made. This is crunch time. One final game left in the competitive Pokemon Go season. If you win, glory and the title of world champion. If you lose, bitter defeat. Pato Man has been the best battler in the world this season, winning European internationals, third at North American internationals, and now one win away from world champion. But Beelzebub was 4th at last year's Worlds, already top 2 at this year's Worlds, and is an incredible competitor who also has a team comp advantage with the Galarian Moltres unchecked. Beelzebub, Pato Man, game number 5. Who will be world champion? The battlers have locked in. And it's Galarian Corsola for Pato Man into the Lapras for Beelzebub. Beelzebub is going to throw 5 Psy-Wave safe switch into the Moltres, again forcing that overtap from Pato Man, and Credilli will be the answer. Fly is always going to be no shielded by Pato Man, but Beelzebub knows that he will always have the ability to save this Moltres after winning the 2 shield. Beelzebub is going to be throwing 6 Sucker Punches, CMP tying this Credilli. Credilli will give up the first shield of the match in order to force the final shield from Beelzebub. We've seen this game plan from Pato before. Grab the shield, switch into the Corsola, snipe down with the Power Gem. He waits the turn. There's the catch attempt from Beelzebub onto the Steelix. But due to the great patience by Pato, he's able to fire off the correct move, Nightshade, which will deal some pretty devastating damage to Steelix. Steelix not in Nightshade range yet, so Pato is going to look to commit the shield. and just look to overfarm. He wants to try and exit with energy, because if he is a power gem loaded, Beelzebub cannot bring in the Moltres. The Moltres does have quite a bit of residual energy here. Beelzebub will need to bring in the Lapras. Pato is looking to pivot out here and save this move, pivots into the Lapras, but Beelzebub sends in the Moltres, gets to the Brave Bird, and this will be devastating damage. Brave Bird into the Lapras, big damage. Lapras able to hang on, but not very well. Beelzebub will get knocked out, but this is what he wanted. It's time for his Lapras to shine. He's going to look for a full farm down, looking to exit with as much energy as possible. There's a move loaded on the Galarian Corsola, so now it comes down to this. Does Pato go for a catch onto Credilli? No, he does not. He brings in the Corsola. Ice Beam from the Lapras, knocks it out, denying that energy. In comes Credilli, and Beelzebub has done it. 4th place at last year's Worlds, resetting the bracket, and Beelzebub is your 2025 Pokemon Go World Champion. To me, this is one of the best grand finals that I have ever witnessed. Patoman, despite a severe team comp disadvantage, fighting his way all the way to a decisive game number 5, but Beelzebub, when it mattered the most, making the game-winning plays, using Patoman's own strategy of Lapras energy management against him to claim the title of Pokemon Go World Champion. For Patoman, he had unbelievable consistency this season, winning EUIC 3rd at North American Internationals and now a 2nd place at Worlds. I cannot wait to see Patoman's revenge arc in 2026 as he looks to claim his own World Championship. Watching this grand finals live in the arena in Anaheim, California was one of the coolest moments I've ever had in competitive Pokemon Go PvP. Massive congratulations to Beelzebub, our new world champion. He played brilliantly all weekend. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is More Slice Henry, my 2nd channel, and my name is Home Slice Henry. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not. And I'll see you guys in the next one.